Good Tuesday evening, everybody. This is your tropical weather update brought to you by Weather on the Go. Hope everybody's having a great Tuesday out there and middle of the week. We got a couple of systems that we're watching here, especially across the Eastern Pacific Basin right now. Again, if you guys have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, we only need one more subscriber to get to 300. So definitely please help me out in subscribing down below by pressing that subscribe button, guys. Definitely would be much appreciated, as well as liking the video here at the end of the video as well. Again, like I was saying here, we got two tropical systems we're watching potentially across the Eastern Pacific Basin. One is actually Tropical Storm Estelle that was recently a hurricane as well, starting to kind of lose its punch a little bit across the Eastern Pacific Basin. But the storm is actually being steered by some, a strong ridge or strong high pressure system across the southwestern United States. And if you think about the airflow around a high pressure system, it is clockwise. So we actually see that storm moving more west-northwest and then kind of northwest here around that high pressure system into the Eastern Pacific Basin right now. And you can kind of see that storm right now here on the visible satellite. You can see here Tropical Storm Estelle right off here to the south and west of the Baja of California. This is continuing to move off to the north and west here through the next few days, and kind of as it encounters some cooler waters, will kind of be moving down in kind of the intensity stages here towards that lower end tropical storm status and then that tropical depression status as well. And you can see that here with the cone of uncertainty. You can see kind of the tropical storm status all the way through at least the middle of the week here towards the Wednesday evening hours, and then as it encounters those cooler waters into the central Pacific Ocean, will really start to kind of lose its punch here, getting down towards that tropical depression status as we kind of move in towards late this week and into the weekend here as well. Staying over the open waters, so I'm not not seeing any threats to any areas of Mexico or Baja of California or really even Hawaii at this point. Just kind of staying over the open waters, so that is some good news. But I didn't mention there's another tropical system we're kind of watching to see if it kind of develops a little bit more here across portions of the Eastern Pacific Basin, right behind Tropical Storm Estelle. The National Hurricane Center is giving this a 20% chance of development here over the next 5 days, just to the south of the Mexico border here, just kind of the south of the Mexico coastlines here, moving more to the west and then west-northwest here with time across this area. You can kind of see this here, a kind of mess of thunderstorm and convection activity across portions just off the coast here of Mexico and west here of the Central Americas, kind of just a conglomerate of different, showers and storms kind of bubbling up across the Eastern Pacific Basin. Not a lot of organization to this, so that's why the National Hurricane Center did kind of mention that this only has kind of a very low chance of development, at least the next 5 days, 20% chance here of development across these areas. We'll see if those probabilities do increase in the next few days, but right now kind of a low chance. And again, this steering current will actually keep this more to the west here, so it's not going to be moving up toward the U.S. or anything like that. It'll continue to maintain its kind of a westward motion if it does develop a little bit further toward that tropical depression or tropical storm status a little bit here across the Eastern Pacific Basin here for the next several days. But looking over here at the Atlantic, the Caribbean, and the Gulf, really quiet still. We got very, kind of lull in the action here across portions of the Atlantic Basin. We got a very strong high pressure system here. Not a lot of convection across the central Atlantic here or much of the southern Atlantic. We do kind of have a robust kind of open wave starting to move closer and closer toward the African coast here. We'll be watching that here over the next several days and seeing if we can see any development across the southern Atlantic basin, but really a lot of shear and kind of a lot of, dust still coming off of African coast here that it's kind of, inhibiting these storms from kind of really growing a little bit stronger in strength. But I think that all changes a little bit here as we kind of move forward. So let's take a look at that here. We got that strong high pressure system kind of centered across portions of the central and northern Atlantic, kind of steering all these storms, all these waves that come off of Africa across the Central Americas and into the Eastern Pacific. And that is why the Eastern Pacific Basin has actually been so active lately, and that looks to continue at least here through the rest of this week and into the late week period here towards the 22nd, 23rd time frame. But as we kind of move towards next weekend, there are signs, at least on the European forecast model, that the high pressure system that's been centered over portions of the central and northern Atlantic will actually push a little bit farther to the north or north and east here, kind of opening the door a little bit more for some of these waves to try and get a little bit further up into portions here of the Caribbean as we kind of move toward later this week if we have any storms developing. Again, the consensus here is that we're not going to have any waves really turning into anything. That high pressure system will really still have that influence here as we head here through the rest of the week. But as we kind of get towards late July here, around the 26th through the 31st time frame here, the last few days here of July, we'll start to see that high pressure system really start to shift a little bit farther to the north here, opening the door, I think, for the Gulf of Mexico and much of the Caribbean here to be in kind of that active storm track once we see some of these waves come off Africa, the less shear in the environment here, and we definitely have all these warmer sea surface temperatures to kind of take advantage of across this region. So we'll have to see if we see that here towards the late portion of July. And we can kind of see that using the climate forecasting systems model. This model has been very accurate, kind of showing the precipitation anomalies, the past few months. And definitely I'd like to turn to this to kind of see what we can expect down the line here. A little bit kind of some, tropical moisture trying to get into southern Florida here as we kind of close out, the third week here in July, kind of going toward that 26 time frame, but largely across the Gulf and the Caribbean, pretty much dry here, not really seeing much activity. But as we kind of close the book here on July and go into the first couple days of August, there are some changes, and it looks like the climate forecasting systems model is actually favoring slightly above normal precipitation anomalies across most of the northern and northeastern Gulf here and through portions of the Caribbean as well as we move through this time frame. But we still have those anomalies across portions of the off the Carolina coast here into the western Atlantic, kind of below normal precipitation. So there's still question marks about this time frame as well. But I think really as we get farther into August, we'll really start to shift this pattern around, and we'll start to see a lot more activity starting to develop here in the Caribbean, the Gulf of Mexico, as well as the western Atlantic here toward the Carolinas as well as we move through the August 2nd through the August 9th, 10th time frame. So we'll definitely have to keep an eye on the tropics, especially across the Atlantic basin, the Caribbean, the Gulf of Mexico, as we move towards that early to mid-August time frame as well. So just something to think about here over the next few weeks if you live down along the Gulf Coast, especially into Florida, the Carolinas, Georgia, those type of areas as we move through the next few weeks. And you can see that here, the very favorable conditions here, very warm and sea surface temperatures here in the Gulf, all the way down, especially into the western Caribbean, and it's starting to warm up a little bit more across the eastern Caribbean and much of the southwestern Atlantic basin. So that does concern me that if any of these storms kind of any of these waves kind of start to develop into a tropical entity of a tropical depression, a storm, or a hurricane, these could really take off here in intensity across the Gulf of Mexico, the western Caribbean, and the western Atlantic basin as we kind of move forward towards that early to middle August time frame as well. I still think it'll be pretty active across the eastern Pacific basin here, just due to the fact that we still may have a couple storms kind of originating across the Central Americas and then kind of moving across the Central Americas from the western Caribbean and into the eastern Pacific basin, even as we move in through the next couple weeks here into early August. But I think really the Atlantic here will really start to heat up as we get in towards that middle of the August time frame. So that is something I am actually concerned about. And again, looking kind of at the Atlantic basin as a whole, as we move into the first day or so of August, we really start ratcheting up here that intensity of the hurricane season. We really start to see these yellows and reds really take off here on the chart, and that does mean the hurricane season is going to be opening wide up as we move in towards that August, September, October timeframe, kind of peaking in the late fall months. So we still have a long ways to go across the Atlantic basin before we can kind of say, okay, we dodged a bullet here. But we definitely have to watch. I think August and September, especially September, we're really going to get very active, I think, here in the next couple of months to come. So we definitely have to watch this as we move through the next few weeks and few months ahead. And you can see that here, the July 21st through the 31st time frame here, kind of closing down the month of July. A lot of these waves that come off of Africa start to develop more here across the southern Atlantic basin and then kind of turn up towards portions of the Caribbean as well as the Gulf and the western Atlantic as well as a lot of origin points of tropical systems here we've been seeing lately across the western Americas here, getting into portions off the coast here of Mexico and really starting to push eastward or westward rather with that high pressure system kind of centered across the southwestern United States. We've seen that a lot lately, and that looks to continue here as we move towards that 21st through 31st time frame. But as we turn the page towards August here, the first 10 days or so of August, we really start to see more of these origin points favored across the southern Atlantic basin, and that means a lot of longer lived storm systems that will start to develop across this region and kind of propagate more to the north and west across the Caribbean, the Gulf, or even here into the western Atlantic basin. So we definitely have to watch this again as we move through the next few weeks, as I do think the Atlantic basin, the Caribbean, as well as the Gulf of Mexico is really going to start to heat up here with hurricane activity, if not tropical storm activity here in the next few weeks to come. Again, thank you guys for watching. That was kind of your tropical weather update here for your Tuesday evening. Again, if you guys have not liked or subscribed, definitely like the video down below by pressing the thumbs up button and can subscribe by pressing that subscribe button down below as well. Trying to get over 300 subscribers. Thank you guys for helping me out as well as jot down your comments, questions, and concerns. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of your Tuesday evening, and I'll see you in the next video.